she's affectionately known. Originally from Talafofo, she's now staying, I believe, in Texas.
Texas?
Texas. How?
They go big in Texas.
Yeah, they do. They should go real big in Texas. Good morning, guys. 7:49 in the KUAM News Zoom room. Been a minute, as the kids say. Jesse Quenga from the Guam Ethics Commission. He's the executive director. Good morning, Jesse.
Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Sabrina. Good morning, Guam. Happy to be here again.
Right on, and it has been I want to say a few months. I know that you were scheduled to come on. I want to say a couple months back, and then it got busy, and then we just never got around to rescheduling.
You're fine. You're fine, and quite honestly, I think you're right. It was the start of the rise of spiking COVID cases,
right.
And then eventually DOE's response. And so when you called and said, "Hey, Jess, I'm sorry I have to do this to you, but can we get these guys on?" I was like, "Please." That's, I think, takes precedence over us, but yeah. We'll be ready whenever you guys call us on, and I'm happy to be here this morning with you guys.
And then, so I guess we're just ready for that update, because I know a lot of our conversation has been involving the Guam Ethics Commission kind of standing up their office and their whole process. So where are we with that today?
Great, excellent question. I want to say this process had started since June. We were hoping to secure an attorney. And so we put out a request for information, put out the request for quotation, etc. Finally got an award, and we were secured with legal counsel. And then in September, we received guidance from the Office of the Attorney General that said, we're reviewing your statute, and we found that actually you're allowed to procure for goods and services for all things except legal services, which you'll have to get with their office. And so, we're kind of stuck with like, well, that's strange, because, how can you in one hand be, authorized to procure goods and services for all things except that, right? Mm-hmm. And so we had to think about our response. We understood that there were individuals wanting to file complaints that might involve officials at OAG. And so, we're presented with a conflict of interest. How can our representation be unbiased? And clearly, I think legal counsel is an important component for the commission to hear these complaints, because it's unbiased and it's independent. What we've done is we've reached out. I think the commission was able to, at its September meeting, write up a resolution kind of articulating, here's the timeline, here's why we need legal counsel. And we presented that to, of course, the Guam legislature and also to the Office of the Governor. From that, the Senator Sanagasan had introduced legislation, and we were able to get a public hearing last week, Monday, if I recall correctly. So we're just waiting for that bill. It got pretty broad support. There was no real opposition. I think it's pretty straightforward why we would need our own legal counsel. So we're just waiting to see, now that committee report is prepared, if we're able to get that bill on the session floor and eventually before the desk of the governor.
Okay. Yes, I was going to ask you about the resolution, but since you kind of covered it, you don't need to. So is not having this legal counsel preventing you guys from moving forward and accepting complaints, or has your office received any?
We've gotten a few interests, right? Folks that have stepped forward and said, we want to file a complaint. And the commission has advised me, given me direction to allow for us to retain that information, how to reach out to them when complaints can start to get filed. The challenge is law. The enabling statute provides a timeline. So once the complaint starts, we have a number of days in which we get to act on it. And quite honestly, we want to be able to act in full step with the law, and I believe legal counsel provides the best support for us to achieve that. And so rather than opening up the gates and probably making some mistakes, which, not to the fault of the constituent, we might be allowing some folks to get away if we don't do things the right way. And I think, I have many talents, but I'm not a lawyer, and so that would be a great comfort for our office to have that expertise on hand to support the commission along that process.
Right. I was just looking at our files, Jess, and there's a story. I think I might have wrote it. June 11th, formal process to submit complaints to Ethics Commission on the way. I'm pretty sure if I go back 6 months before that, there's probably a similar story, and then you get where I'm going here.
Right, so the process is in place. We have the forms, we have the steps, and how to advise people that this is what it will look like once your complaint gets filed and the timelines that are involved. It's when we begin to start that process, why legal counsel is so important to us. We can have this process, but along the way, there might be really challenging questions, things like burden of proof. How much burden of proof does a complainant need to have for the commission to uphold a conviction? Is it, what you would find if you were a grand juror, where it's just, a simple, there might be a case here, or do you need clear and convincing evidence? So those are the type of things that counsel will help us at the commission decide in order for their decisions to stand, whether at the Civil Service Commission or in court.
So as it stands today, we can come and fill out a complaint and give it to you, and then what happens to it?
Well, we're not even accepting the complaints because that will start the timeline. And
Right.
so we have the procedures in place. We're waiting for the legal counsel to be staffed or on board, and then we can allow folks to file, because then we'll be working in concert with the law.
So really, you're just waiting for the legislature and then subsequently the governor to.
Correct. And
act.
that's for one aspect
Mhm.
of the commission's roles and responsibilities. Another thing that we're doing right now, fortunately this year they passed an update to the Ethics in Government Training Program. So this is where ethics training is mandated now for all government and Guam employees. We've been very successful talking to every agency head, talking about the mandate, getting everyone aware that we really are facing two separate timelines. For all employees that were existing prior to May 12th this year, we have 36 months for them to get ethics training. And for every other employee that were on board post May 12th, that timeline shrinks to 6 months. So we've been offering these ethics workshops, and we've had maybe several hundred that have already gone through, and we have a lot more that are going to be planned throughout the rest of the year. So that happens to be a focus. And interesting, in 2 weeks, we're going to have the first ever ethics training compliance report that's due from the agencies to the Guam Ethics Commission. We only have estimates of what the GovGuam workforce size is.
Mhm.
So this is a great way for us to really identify, all right, the GovGuam workforce size is this much, and this is how many employees we have at Guam Department of Education, at the Airport Authority, at the Port Authority, etc. And this covers everybody. I mean, it's not just line agencies, we're talking autonomous agencies, even employees at the judiciary and the legislature. So we've been working with everyone. We're slowly getting those reports in, but at least we've been able to connect and share that mandate with everyone.
Mhm. What about the Guam Election Commission? The deadline for the financial disclosure reports are due. For those that do not comply, do they go to the Ethics Commission? The names?
They
and
do.
then They do.
They
And the-
do, yes. Sorry.
And
go
so what happens? Say there is some that do not comply, and it goes to your body. What happens then?
I believe the commission would have a responsibility to hear, maybe go through the process of engaging with that official, inquiring why they didn't apply. And if it was purely negligent, then there would be certain outcomes outlined in the law that allow the commission to take action against the official. They would also be guilty maybe of a misdemeanor. I have to go back to the law, but essentially that would be the case. So right in that process, we're waiting for the Guam Election Commission because the Ethics Commission doesn't request for the forms. We are just the receiving party. So I believe the statute says after 10 days in which they receive this file or the report, they transmit that to the Guam Ethics Commission.
And what about aside from non-compliance for people that don't file their financial disclosure reports, do you additionally look at the actual reports of those that did comply to see if there's
Forensically?
anything strange?
Sure. You're talking about auditing financial reports.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of these forms are filled out and then they sign an affidavit that the information presented is true and correct. So there is, I think, no particular idea that we would go in and audit that unless, of course, there is an ethics complaint filed against the official where now this financial report serves as evidence, because we can compare what they're saying versus what they filed on with the election commission. And if there are differences and maybe the reports don't jive, then that would be action against that official.
I see. Do you guys have an official office yet?
We do. We're currently working out our lease at the GCIC building. There are some things that still have to be worked out with the landlord with regards to our total square footage, but ultimately we are there, and we have been getting people through our door and taking phone calls.
Yes.
So,
Jess, you said that you had people come in who express interest in filing complaints. Are you able to say, just like give us a hint, what it was about?
That's a great question. And part of our research, was that a lot of these things have to stay confidential to protect both parties. So what can be shared will be shared when we're able to. But at this time, I don't think we're able to, because it wouldn't be fair also to the person filing the complaint, because we're not actively investigating it or putting a hearing in place.
So I just outside looking in, Jess, it kind of seems like this whole process is taking forever. And there are those who would say like, oh, the will is not there. They don't want the people to have the ability to file a complaint, which I think would be a valid criticism. But how would you address that?
We're working with what's provided in the law. If there was an opportunity for us to fast track this and it wouldn't compromise our effectiveness in hearing their complaint thoroughly, we would do that. But we want to protect everyone. We wouldn't want to rush the process, find out that we mess up the complainant's legitimate complaint, and then we're left with an even bigger mess.
Ooh.
So I appreciate everyone's patience, and we do have a desire to get the ball rolling. Unfortunately, we have to do it in compliance with the law, and a lot of things like procurement, there are timelines in place. We don't, necessarily just jump in and say, okay, tomorrow I'm getting a lawyer and this is who I'm getting.
Sorry,
Right.
Jess.
We get it. I mean, you guys are the Ethics Commission. You got to make sure all your I's are dotted and your
but
T's
you never
are
heard of
crossed.
the emergency procurement? Dude, the sole source? You have that done yesterday, bro.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Gotta give Claudia a call.
I'm okay.
Right
okay.
on.
But there are so many other things that we do while we wait for that process. Like I said, I mean, that is just one component of the myriad of things that we're held responsible for. And that, quite honestly, is just a staff of two, myself and one other person. I think we're doing a great job, and we're getting as much information out there. So, you might see that as a waiting process for filing complaints, but with regards to ethics training, we imagine that a lot of the complaints that come forward, probably the most common response we're going to hear is, well, I didn't know that was a violation. So to prevent that, I think this training component is a great exercise, because it says there is no cause for you to say, I didn't know better, because you've gone through this training. Now you have a greater understanding of, this is what I'm allowed to do as an official and what I'm not allowed to do. And when I veer that way where I do something bad, then know that there are repercussions for it.
Jess, thank you for your time this morning.
Yes, thanks, Jess.
Good
Thank
talk,
you
as
too.
always. Right on.
Stay safe.
Let me know when's the next one. Yes.
Yeah.
Shout out to you.
You let me know.
when
let me know,
you get
Chris.
that legal counsel.
Yeah, let us know. Bring
Well,
it legal
Well, that
counsel.
might be a while, so we'll check in with you soon.
Unless you call Claudia. Okay.
Take care.
Jesse Quenga, it's 8:03 on the breeze. We're KUAM FM, Agotnya, Guam. Good morning. It's the link. Let's jump over to KUAM TV so you guys can see us. Link fam. Brought to you by Pacific Points, Cabo Enterprises, ITD, and Jack in the Box.